going in and adjourning into municipalities.
How many municipalities is that, 170?
Yeah, 170 plus. So we've been replicating this process with villages.
That's a lot, man.
Yeah, it's a lot, but we're thankful to have a lot of statewide partners.
Oh, so you are Frederick Douglass, or no, you're not?
Sorry?
Oh, you're not.
I mean, we do go through Rochester, so there are Frederick Douglass
I was
sites.
gonna say you take Frederick Douglass Boulevard in the city to the west side highway.
Oh, no, yeah, just the west side highway.
Would make it better at Frederick Douglass Boulevard.
Let me.
So we're starting at the Lincoln Tunnel?
Starting-
On Lincoln Tunnel.
Starting at the Lincoln Tunnel.
So. Should we, oh, could you, we do comments now or after?
No, I'm still trying to
Have to
figure
figure out,
out.
yeah, which was the-
Where we are.
Hold on, yeah.
Yeah, so show us where we start and where we go.
So
Okay. So this is the corner,
if this is the boundary of.
no, that we know.
Yeah.
Okay.
What we
Yeah.
don't know is this beginning, 495, is that the beginning?
Oh, the immediate beginning.
Yeah.
That's where we've mapped so far, but kind of pursuant to DOT traffic regulations, we'd work with New York State DOT and New York City DOT to determine the exact roundabout exit that connects the, the mouth of the tunnel to the Harriet Hudson Parkway.
Okay,
But we were trying to stay on that because as a parkway, it's been grandfathered as kind of a byway style route by New York State DOT, and there in theory is already the limitation on new billboards on that parkway, and that's kind of the main part of our resolution ask outside of just supporting our mission and vision.
okay, so you are going up to. Okay, Pier 97 and it goes up further, I mean, it goes up.
Oh, yeah, it stays
Right.
on, it
So this
stays
is
on the
the
Henry Hudson.
whole thing.
Yeah, it stays, the entirety of Manhattan.
And why
stays
does it
there.
start at the Lincoln Tunnel?
We figured well, it's not a highway or an interstate. It would connect to a state road as the parkway. And it was approved by New York State DOT, or at least they didn't see any immediate issues with it going at the,
Because the Lincoln Tunnel doesn't intersect with the road, with the highway. Does not.
yeah. And scenic byways cannot be on highways, they can only be on state roads, or at least wherever
I'm
possible.
totally.
But we're still trying to figure out exactly where you're proposing to start this thing, because that's really what we care about, because we presume there'll be a plaque or some sort of
Right,
signifier that this is the beginning, and really what matters for us is, okay, where is that gonna be?
Okay, DOT has a signage plan that they would maybe install markers that are visible in the fashion of their normal scenic byway.
yeah, but
Signage,
can you just tell us,
Okay,
when you have a description, the thing starts at what?
as far as I can say, it's just starts at the Lincoln Tunnel, or the first area that the Henry Hudson Parkway would intersect with the Lincoln Tunnel.
Where it doesn't,
Where it doesn't?
it doesn't,
So
the Lincoln Tunnel does not intersect with this, which is why when you
So
were
is it
saying
in
that.
a radius of the Lincoln Tunnel?
it'd be in the radius, so
Okay.
whatever specific intersections are necessary to bring inbound travelers or exiting travelers from the parkway to the Lincoln Tunnel and vice versa. And we would be happy to continue to work with you, city DOT and state DOT to ensure that specific endpoint is done as sensitively as possible to making sure we're guiding.
So I think.
It's
we
either
got-
that or
that's
they're
fine.
taking the underground railroad very
So,
literally.
and so what you're looking from us is a resolution which says what? I'm sure.
The resolution is that for the areas that the proposed byway intersects with your district, that you would not green light new billboards along the route. And also that you would work with us and we would keep you informed of the details of our corridor management plan, and that we continue to present to the community board our plans.
And you said we would not agree to billboard, but you're going to install billboards, right?
We're not installing billboards. Billboards are what's known as
Right.
off-premise advertising. The signage that New York State DOT has committed to installing, if we get approved, is just small
Signs.
byway signs every however many miles, maybe every 50 miles.
Okay, but there are billboards which are approved by, as of right.
And those are grandfathered in. There's no eminent domain, we're
I
taking down
agree.
the
So
ordinance.
we're just literally just no other billboards.
No new
along- No
billboards.
new billboards.
Because the scenic byway remains scenic by not
Keep it simple.
having new billboards alongside.
All right, so let's start going around
Yeah.
the room.
My question is, this is basically honoring, Harriet Tubman. So I can't get over the fact that it doesn't have, the starting point has no relation to her entering New York or where she did enter New York.
But it does. Harriet Tubman is documented as taking ferries from where she exited trains from Maryland in the maybe Jersey City area. So, I mean, there were ferry services up
Yeah,
and
got it.
down the water, similar to if she took the train to Rensselaer and then took the ferry into mainland.
So presumably the plaque that starts it would say that, like in letter.
Our website, our documentation, our corridor management plan would talk about that, yes.
Yes,
I think it would be a mistake not to take this on Frederick Douglass Boulevard, because it's this great statue of Harriet Tubman. On Frederick Douglass, it's called Swing Low. It's a phenomenal statue.
where?
Frederick Douglass in Harlem, I forget the cross street.
Oh, I know the statue you're talking
Yeah.
about. So the route itself
Yeah,
is not what connects all of the sites of interest along, because I mean, there are plenty of historic sites and buildings. Now, the route is a route because it's easy to navigate. There is a radius of 4 miles on either side of our proposed route that we will include interpretations like the Swing Low statue, museums, heritage sites, organizations, etc. That we will include in our corridor management plan as part of our resource interpretation.
so if someone wants to drive on this route, there's gonna be a sign directing them to points of interest off the route.
Potentially, that would be determined by DOT and our steering committee, but we would include all of those points in our documentation saying these are the sites or the places that we want to increase travel to.
And as part of this outreach, are you going to every community board this touches? You are. Wow.
Yeah, so far we've received resolution from 9 and we're in talks or like being placed into committees for the rest of the 4. So that would be 4 over here, 9, 12,
No,
excuse me, 4, 7, 9, 12, and Bronx 8.
So this would be like the other city byways we have in the state, like the Erie Canal City Byway, right? So you have like signs along the corridor periodically, there's like some material about it.
Yeah, and maybe at rest stops, there are kiosks that show what we're doing, or.
And the website, I thought.
Yeah, their website, absolutely, and affiliated museums that we work with where they have a representation as well, and we're the Underground Railroad Consortium, we got grant funding to spearhead this. We actually just had a consortium board meeting that once we achieve designation, the responsibility of administering the byway will fall under the Niagara Falls National Heritage Area as the western entering point, but they would develop a memorandum of understanding with the Erie Canal National Heritage Area and the Maurice D. Hinchy Hudson River Greenway Agency and National Heritage Area.
And that's actually my third question. So is this we talked about as a national heritage area since the NPS manages the site in Auburn?
It won't be federally administered. I mean, our goal when we started this was to make a state byway that was already eligible for national adoption.
Yeah.
But even withstanding, whatever, there's.
It's state. Got
Yeah,
it.
it's state, we're going for state, and that's what we need your support for, it could be national, and we could connect to the other state, or external state byways. And that would be a wonderful thing, but we're focused on national, or excuse me, state first, because that's,
The explanation, I'm sorry, who else?
You David on.
Who is David?
Hi, so I have a quick question. Are we gonna have are they gonna also include a bike lane for this so people can ride their bikes? And I also think this is a great idea. I love the fact that you guys are doing this.
The Greenway, David.
It's a greenway.
Well.
So all the way,
to
the
answer that-
Greenway, it's the Greenway all the way up to Buffalo or Canada?
There are existing statewide paths that people could use as bike or for bike transportation that intersect with points of our driving route. A scenic byway is typically a driving route, but we include in our documentation where our route intersects with other ways that people can experience the trail in non-traditional forms, like boating, like biking, like running, climbing. So we do intend to, in our own documentation and marketing and the partnerships that we have with local tourism groups and municipalities, we would love for there to be that documentation that tells people, if you get to this rest stop, you can get out of your car and onto a bike and experience some nature and reflect on the history.
Thank
I have
you.
a question.
Yep.
I have a question about, you described how the Niagara region is going to get organized. Who is going to manage the, whatever the agreement that you're talking about, the operation in our district?
That's a great question. So, there's one other scenic byway that New York DOT, approved and it got voted on that's similar in length to ours, and that's the, like the Great Lakes Seaway Trail. It starts at, kind of the border of Erie, Pennsylvania, and goes all the way up here. The way that their byway group divvied up responsibility was they went by, I think it was like by tourism or REDC, which is another ESD.
But wait a
region.
minute, what's the answer to my question?
Is that we would assign committees that focused on, say, the capital chunk or the Finger Lakes chunk or the Niagara,
I'm talking about CB4. What, you are going to assign committee, but you don't have that set up yet.
we don't have that set up, and we would also reach out to the local municipalities on what their recommended input would be for if we say have a point person within the byway administering organization for the New York City region.
Okay, well, it seemed like you were talking about a pretty sophisticated thing for Niagara, but I don't hear the same level of investment.
Well, basically, we would love for there to be a partnership between national heritage areas that cover the Hudson River, that cover the Erie Canal, and that cover the Niagara Falls area, working in unison because they have local contacts. So, for example, the Hudson River National Heritage Area presumably has contacts from where from New York City up to Albany, and they might be able to help us find the appropriate liaisons and representatives to represent your area. If not, you yourselves keeping in touch with us, or us keeping in touch with you, letting you know that, okay, this is how our organization is going to look once we get.
My question is,
Designation.
okay, when
Yeah.
the signs get messed up, who do we call?
We call it New York DOT, and I can get a confirmation of that from them, but the signs that just say that the road that you're driving on happens to also be a scenic byway, that's a New York State DOT thing, and thankfully, because we're putting this
Okay.
plan together with their process, they have indicated that if we get approval or if we get voted in, they'll have signs for us.
Okay, yes,
To your point, you might be looking at folks, organizations that run the river. Hudson River Park, that section, then going up River Keep,
That's what I was
everybody going up the river.
okay. All right, Joe.
I just want to make a comment. I would just like to propose that any letter that we pass in support of this, I think it's sort of apt timing. I'm sure everyone saw, but just a couple of weeks ago, the National Park Service removed reference to Harriet Tubman from their website. I know subsequently it was put back after there was some outcry, but this happens to be occurring. We're having to begin this presentation at a time when our history, our most important history, is literally being erased in front of our eyes. And so I would very much like to include reference to that in any letter that we have.
Okay, so I wanted to make, floating some language, and you can decide to make a motion or not, but the motion would be to support the effort. The overall effort, which is very important, to support that, the fact that it starts on, that it goes along the highway, And, and that's. what-
And no, don't want a green light, we're
Yeah,
saying
and
we're
then
not.
we will
Support.
refrain from,
Yes.
supporting any billboards there,
We're-
unless they are as of right, obviously, right?
Yeah.
So that's the language.
That's the
Do
language.
we have a motion?
Motion.
Okay, second, all in favor?
Patel,
Aye.
Assembly District
Okay.
74, Part D.
Great, well, thank you for your time.
Thank you very
Appreciate it.
much.
Feel free to reach
Okay.
out to me with any further questions, and I'm very happy to come back with any updates about the resolution process.
Okay.
And how.
Very good,
Thank
thank
you.
you, bravo for doing that.
Thank you.
How do we reach out?
Oh, my email is sage, SAGE, at, and then the acronym for our organization, URC NYS
I think Janine must have.
dot org, and I'll throw that in the chat as well. before I-
Janine, you have been in touch with Janine, right?
Yes, yes. I am.
Okay, so she has it.
Yeah.
Alright.
Thank you very much, we really appreciate it, thanks for coming in for us,
Thank
and
you.
appreciate it.
Okay, the second item is very much more local. It's a parking issue on West 52nd Street between 8 and 9. And Oliver Arides, are you ready to present?
Hello? Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, yes, we can hear you.
Yes, hi, how are you? Thank you for inviting me to, Tonight's
Can you
meeting.
turn on your camera? if it's
sorry, yes,
possible?
I'm sorry, 1 second. Are you able to see me? Are you able to see me?
Okay.
Yes.
Yes.
All right, so tell us what is the problem and what is your proposed solution?
Sure, I wanted to comment about the 300 block of West 52nd Street.
Oh, you're on
Now,
mute.
now you muted yourself,
You have to unmute
Sorry.
yourself.
No?
Yeah,
yeah.
yes.
Okay. Apologies. So there was a signage change on our block. They added commercial parking to our block starting 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. I don't recall exactly when, but it has been, I think, prior to COVID. And this has not allowed for New York City sanitation garbage trucks to pass on the block and clean the streets and gutter as they used to. I recently did a walkthrough with one of the representatives from the city council because we are having some other issues on the block with squatters and other issues of those types. And I pointed out the gutter and the buildup of years of just no cleaning, and it's deteriorating the sidewalk, the street. They're consistently dirty. And also the commercial parking has been taken over by the US Post Office trucks. There's a post office on that station, and they have their designated parking, but they use the commercial parking area to just fill up the block with the trucks. Not to mention that 51st Street between 8th and 9th, which has the same signage that we used to have, has more commercials, restaurants and businesses, and it never changed on the block. It changed on our block. And now all that commercial space is being used by people illegally parking, using fake permits to park there, just obstructed with hotel laundry carts, everything but commercial parking. So
Oliver, you sent us some photograph. Can you show us the photo, or Janine,
Yes,
can
I'm
you show
trying.
the photo?
I'm trying to share with you here. So let me know if you can see
Yeah,
this.
we can see it.
Are you able to
Okay.
see?
Yes.
Yeah.
So
So
this
you
is,
had, yes, go ahead.
so the signs on the left are what we currently have. And on the right are what they used to be. Is it big enough to see? Or-
Yeah,
So I don't remember when this changed or we were asked as a community about these changes taking place. But as you can see,
okay, yeah,
this is on a good day.
Yeah.
Because
Looks like it.
I tried to do my part to clean in front of my building, and I know the neighbors do the same. But yeah, otherwise
Oliver,
it's not good.
what kind of commercial trucks are parked there? Whose business?
That's the point. There are none that use it.
So then
Every
why-
now and then you might have a delivery for Lucky Burger, but that's it. It's really quick. They stop, they drop off the bread and for the ramen place, but that's it. There's really, I don't understand why they have commercial parking from 7 AM to 7 PM.
give me the chance, Colleen, are you online?
Yes, I'm here. I'm sorry, Oliver, what's the location you're talking about, the commercial parking? Can you tell me again?
Sure, it's between 8th and 9th Avenue, starting on 9th.
Okay.
Specifically in this picture, it's 364, 366, 370.
On 8th Avenue?
Between 52nd Street,
No.
between 8th and
52nd
9th Avenue.
On
Oh,
50.
okay.
Don't you
Okay, so
remember,
So
Colleen,
we,
how?
yeah, we do allow some commercial parking along those corridors because we know, like, the avenues is always busy and we always try to accommodate side streets for deliveries as well. The thing is that what we can do and what the board can do is that we can have sanitation look into cleaning the streets early in the morning before the commercial regulations goes into effect. But that would have to be determined based on sanitation schedule in that area. So
Mhm.
what I would recommend is that the board, write a letter to sanitation and also copy DOT.
There's
And
another
we can
picture.
we can coordinate that with sanitation, the
But
street
Colleen,
cleaning
can you,
regulations.
Oliver, can you put back the regulations there, the two regulations?
Sure.
This, right, you can make it.
So you see, there is street cleaning regulations. It's where this broom is. It's from 8:30 AM to 9 AM.
No, that's what the
No,
sign used to
it's
be.
not, it doesn't exist.
Oh, that's what it used to be. Okay, so what
Yes.
we can do, and the board can do is that you can reach out, you can write a letter to sanitation asking if they would be amendable to continue with the street cleaning, but it would have to be before the 7 AM regulation.
No,
They
but
can,
wait, why can't we ask for that 8:30 to 9 AM room to be put back in?
well,
Because
if you were,
commercial people, if we say instead of 7 AM, they could start at 10 AM, right?
right, I was just gonna say that we can start the commercial parking at 10 AM. Yeah, and have
And put the
sanitation.
room and put the sanitation room in between and then.
Yeah.
Mhm.
This is what it is.
Yes.
That's correct. That's another option too.
That's the best solution that we can do.
I
Right,
even
but
asked the sanitation inspector, because he comes every block, every morning, because there's garbage on the block. And he himself said, it used to be better when you guys had the allotted time. I don't know why they took that away from you. And I asked him
So
about
I
his
think
driver,
we-
and
I
he
think
said
we,
the driver is gonna mark the block like that he did his route. But in essence, the sanitation truck is just going down the middle of the block. And I asked him, I stopped him one time. I said, is this considered like cleaning the block? He said, I mark off my route as completed.
yeah,
So
and
Oliver,
yeah,
hold on one second.
I was just gonna say, Oliver, if you spoke with the sanitation rep, if they are comfortable with going back there, like with the old reg, which is 8:30 AM,
Mhm.
then
Yeah.
the board can look at reducing the hours for the commercial parking regs.
Right.
That's what they proposed, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's do that.
Okay, who was, Charlie, you have your, yeah.
Yeah, I have a question for Oliver. I'm curious, are cars parked here at 5 a.m., 6 a.m.? I mean, are you dealing with, you know, placard parking, parking for the MTA, which is close by, parking for Midtown North? Because I know on a lot of neighboring blocks, like cars are parked overnight, no matter what the regulation says with the, you know, MTA or NYPD vest on the dashboard.
So that was that's a good point. I spoke to a traffic officer, and he noticed that majority of the cars using these spaces are not for commercial. It's just people using fake permits, just throwing a construction vest in the window, putting a little police benevolent card in the window, things that are considered illegal. And he ticketed some of the cars, but then he said, I see these cars every day. I don't know what to do. They should be reported. So there's not even space if commercial parking was needed, because they're all taken overnight, all day.
Yeah, so I agree. I mean, I think we should go back to the old regulation and have the broom there. But I mean, I walk by that block every day. There's like this, this light sky blue Jeep that parks in the buffer daylighting zone, like near Lucky Burger every day, and it's got like a fake placard.
Mhm.
You know, I think even an out-of-state plate. So I think there's members of our community who perhaps work on 54th Street between 8th and 9th who park all over the 50s and are going to ignore whatever sign is there. So I think our letter should try to
Mhm.
get to the root of the problem. A sign might not fix it.
Sure. I also went into the post office to speak to the postmaster, and I
We're never
asked,
gonna-
can you kindly remind the drivers to just park in the designated post office truck parking? And they said, oh, yes, we'll tell them, but they also take up the whole block. And those are big trucks, and they create sort of little niches, hiding spaces for overnight illicit activity to take place as well.
Okay, so what we are going to do is take it one step at a time. The first time is going to bring back that, sanitation window.
Mhm.
And then we'll tackle the other things which are so chronic that it's so difficult to
Mhm.
deal with them. But the first one we do
Sure.
is the regulation, is that.
And if there's any reason as to what was the logic behind changing it to commercial parking, because it's the only
This
block
is
that
what
changed.
Colleen explained to you, but maybe it was done a little hastily and it went a little too far. So we need to do something in between. So
Mhm.
that's my, do we have a motion on that? Okay,
No, second. Yeah.
all in favor?
All in favor.
Okay, all right. So Oliver, we write that resolution.
Thank you.
Could
Appreciate
we
it.
also send a letter to the to the Congress member Nadler about the post office trucks, because it's a federal agency, the
Mhm.
Senator Schumer or Nadler or Gillibrand about the post office trucks?
We will. All right, so the next,
hand up. Natalie, something?
what?
Natasha?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Natasha,
Sorry, we forgot. Members
I'm bringing her
of
over now.
Thank you, everyone, for listening.
Sorry, I should have reminded you.
It's your turn.
Yeah, it's my turn, sorry.
I spent 4 years of my life on that street. With the post office.
Hi.
Hi.
Do I have to put my camera? Hold on a second. So I had a question to piggyback off of Oliver's. I live on 7th Avenue on 29th, and there are a lot of residential buildings that are coming up, and the whole block is commercial parking, but there aren't any more businesses. So you've moved and created housing on that block, and a lot of families are moving in, but the whole block is commercial where cars sit there and idle and I did move there for the clean air building and my daughter's asthmatic. So how do we change that also? And I understand someone from
So,
T said that
right,
is a way to figure out or strategy in how these blocks along the corridor are made commercial. But if you are approving housing creation on those corridors, then you have to figure out how does that correlate to families moving in and commercial living. Most
so
of the blocks are
two
not,
things, two things about that. You live on what, 29th Street and 7?
yes, yes.
So the first thing I get to tell you that this is not part of our district. This is
Oh,
part
okay,
of the Community Board 5.
okay, okay.
But, and then you can just go and ask them the same thing and ask them to, convert some of it to residential, because you still need a lot of commercial to service the residential building.
You
To
do.
construct, right? So you need to
do, but
balance.
not for that
You
length of
need a
time.
mix, right?
Yeah.
So, contact the CD5 and they will, take it up.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you. Thank you so much.
Okay. So the next time,
Was anyone else from the public who want to speak on that 52nd Street? Okay,
Did we vote?
we voted, we're good, we're moving on.
Must have missed it. Sorry.
you went outside.
I think you voted yes, Gordon.
Let that garbage.
Yeah,
Okay, so the next item is West
funny.
22nd Street Block Association, a brand new block association, we love those. Is applying for a block party on West 22nd Street between 8 and 9 on May 31st.
It's about time. About time to have a party over
Yes,
there.
I'm Phyllis Wiesman, and I'm a member of the Neighbors of 300 West 21st, 22nd, 23rd Street Block Association. And we did submit an application to SAPO to have a block party on May 31st. The reason why we did this is that last summer, we only formed 2 years ago, but last summer we had what we call coffee on the curb, where we had tables set up in front of 360 and we got approval to get it set up there. And we gave out coffee and we invited neighbors to come by and say hello. And we were also soliciting new members for our block association. And that was very successful. So as we've been talking about it, we decided that the next step for us to try is a block party. And again, the purpose of the block party is for neighbors to meet neighbors. And we're gonna have coffee on the curb again. We're gonna have a doo-wop group, performing for 40 minutes. And we'd also like to have a stoop sale. But I don't know if the stoop sale is allowed because it's not commercial selling, it's neighbor selling their junk.
Yeah, you can do that. But
Sure.
West 44 does that every year.
Oh, okay. So, that's basically it. We're not having any rides or any other than tables and chairs in front of 360.
And no if you said no
Nothing.
amplification, right?
We're not having anything special.
No, music amplified. The doo-wop group.
They're acapella,
They're a cappella, yeah.
acapella duo. So there you go.
I had a question, is it from what time to what time?
Well, we wanted to set up at 10 a.m., but it would run from 10 to 4, 12 to 4, and then we have an hour to clean up.
Right, and you have people to do the cleanup,
Yes.
okay. And, that's all I have, sounds really good.
Sounds good. We're not closing the street.
Yes, they
Oh,
are.
yeah.
Is there an emergency lane?
Yeah, you have to leave a 15-foot lane.
Oh, okay.
Or the cars on?
Right, so that if, the
Emergency
emergency
vehicles.
vehicle, you just pull the thing and let them go. So you
Okay,
need to organize so that there is that space.
okay, great.
Right,
Good.
Yeah.
Party time.
Great.
okay.
Any members of the public who would like to speak on that? Okay. There we go.
Nobody wants,
No,
Okay, so we are, supporting the party,
Block
right?
party, great.
Okay,
Yeah.
no amplification and 15 feet,
Yes,
Excellent.
right?
yes.
Can we get a motion?
Yeah,
Motion, second. All those in favor?
this is
Yay, look at that.
one more thing that Phyllis is doing. Phyllis has been doing good stuff in the
Thank you.
neighborhood forever.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
And now on to.
Ah,
Ah.
oh, forgot to, anyway,
Uh,
forgot to notify JD and. Like that. Forward. Okay. So the next item is the letter we sent to the board last month on quality of life enforcement, which was so well received. And, I wanted to put down to you and collect from you the information about your happen. I was supposed to do a notification after that, so. So I wanted to get your input on why do you think it didn't go well? Just,
Well, just from I felt that some people felt they weren't included or they should have been notified before, but I also thought it was good that Thomas spoke up to speak about what he saw and that you live a block away from that, right? So I thought that was good, but I felt that some people felt that we did not sort of follow, I guess, a protocol and checking with them first or going to them.
yeah, which is what I was supposed to do today. And I forgot.
We have a rule.
Okay, so, Brad,
I was away for work last month and so maybe put a little update on.
oh, you have to listen to the video. Essentially, we got, Dolores was furious that we didn't,
Picked on the precinct.
we didn't bring that issue to the precincts first, or
The committee council, to the committee
the
council.
community council.
Right.
And then JD was upset about whatever.
We talked a little more, people might be listening on YouTube and the recording with a little more background, because I'm not following exactly.
Well,
Well, right now, we want
I think
the
it's-
board members to say what is their feedback on what happened,
Yeah.
yes.
So the letter said generally, without regard to like which precinct in particular, it just said, hey, like we've seen the following issues with the precincts, like the illegal parking, or there may be like garbage, or like it's untidy. And that was just said in general with respect to each of the precincts that are in our district. So I think some people who were at the meeting raised concern, one, process-wise, they thought, oh, this is not appropriate for the community board. This needs to go to like a community council first. Another concern that was raised was like, we maybe need to be more specific in the letter about which particular precincts have the particular issues. So that we're not like seen as like picking on them or whatever, right? And so I felt like there was like both a process question and a specificity about the precincts or the problems that were with respect to each one.
We only have 2 precincts, but like in our district,
And
not missing any.
we have 4 precincts,
Okay.
which is always a very big issue,
Plus the transit.
yes. Plus night shift.
Yeah,
whatever.
plus
So
housing.
this is like,
Is there, I mean, I feel like the 54th Street one is always an issue. Is there another, like, of the remaining 3?
Well, there's the one right here.
well, here we tell you that the tenth.
It's constant.
Yeah, they are all like that, I mean,
Okay, I'm asking, is it?
No, the Midtown North is up, the Midtown South is beyond belief. And
Yeah,
so
it's
it's everywhere. It's everywhere,
It should must be-
so yeah. So as far as, process, because we have 4 precincts, And because these are issues which we were relating to the Jessica, the new commissioner initiative, I thought this was really tagging on that. And it's not a precinct issue. You go, I mean, I went to the precinct issue with, Charlie, and he can explain to you what happened. I mean, Charlie, please share our experience there.
Yeah, you mean a few years ago, yeah, we went to a number of community council meetings for Midtown North to try to get them to stop parking on the sidewalk. And I did have a small victory. They stopped parking in front of the court, and I could finally get my stroller through the sidewalk without having to take my newborn into the street on 54th Street. So that was a small victory. But it is a systemic problem of non-enforcement of cars with placards. And Christine, you softened the letter a little bit to, imply that those who are parking illegally all over the neighborhood are impersonating police officers. I will say that it's my opinion that it is police officers in their private vehicles who put the cards on the dashboard.
But I want to add to that when we went to the police precinct, we were pretty much kicked out by the same people who just complained about that letter.
Yes, you jogged my memory now.
Say that because we went 3 times together, right? And
Yeah,
so the first time was, how dare you come and ask NYPD those questions? And this was the community council.
But I have a question. If a group within the community board or a person has a good relationship with the precinct, why wouldn't we incorporate the assistance of those people?
Because those groups kicked us out.
No, but I'm sort of confused. I understand that the precinct.
No. The community council, the same people.
Right, the community council kicked us out, but if we were to go, there are members on the community board who are also members of the community council, right?
Yes.
So why wouldn't we work with?
Because they were those same people who kicked us out.
Oh.
Yes. Oh.
Wait, so, okay. Can we try again?
No. No, I mean,
I was invited to the meeting yesterday of the community council. I couldn't make it because I was the doctor. But Dolores did ask me to come to the meeting, which was very sweet. I just wasn't able to go because I had 2 other doctors.
Sweet.
I mean, I just want to say.
Good job.
Regardless of, it becomes a question of what in the letter is tied specifically to the precinct, what are really precinct issues versus what are just the broader quality of life issues that, I not only, since we drafted that letter, Commissioner Tisch has actually launched an entire quality of life division.
Right.
And so I do think we want to speak to those issues for the new division.
And I think.
So it's a matter of what is.
I think our letter was a little, it would have been criticized no matter what, right? But I think our letter went a little too far as talking about, cleanliness and the precinct, etc. I think we need to really focus on our issues of parking, right?
Yeah.
And enforcement.
Yeah.
And
then to your point, go go for the sidewalk and the cleanliness and the trash. Perhaps try to go back to the community council.
Confused. Why wouldn't we, if it's a letter that causes bad feelings within community board 4 with certain people, why wouldn't they be in this meeting so we can create a letter that would be more?
They were supposed to be, and I didn't call them.
So why don't we why can't we put this on next week?
You want to table it?
Yes.
For a month?
Yes.
Because the commissioner now has created new units, right?
And I get that.
And I think that it is important. Well, first of all, I think that them being here, if they are saying that the only way that the community board communicate with NYPD is through the council, I don't think this is acceptable.
Well, why don't we have them here to discuss it?
Okay.
Just a comment, let me just comment. I think some split votes are okay, I know the community board tries to vote very unanimously on pretty much every letter, but I think this is if there's a genuine difference of opinion and some people feel differently, I think it is fine to have people like split the vote and everybody can vote how they sincerely
Right.
feel. And that's okay, and some people may feel, you know, they are on the precinct council, and they may think that police issues should go through the precinct council, and not everyone on the board may agree with that. And that is a fine situation to have a split vote, it doesn't like mean there's some
Do
issue with
that.
the board, that's just how voting works.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
But
we do that.
I just want to.
But in this case, we were very reluctant to do that, we're very reluctant to say, we're just gonna have a vote.
Well,
And some people,
always.
some people are gonna vote against the letter, and I think maybe we should, in this case, it seems to jury, it would be fine, in my opinion, to say, we're gonna run this letter. We, the committee, think it's fine. If you don't agree, that's fine, you're welcome to vote against it.
I just want to add that, community councils are not mandated by the city charter, community boards are. So I think what we did is completely appropriate. Community boards are a YPD internal memo, basically. They're not in the admin code, they're not in the city charter. This is supposed to do something exactly like that. Plus, it never hurts to have multiple organizations, community talk about issues.
Right.
I mean, talking from my other role as an agency person, it's great to see multiple organizations talk to us about stuff. So I don't necessarily see the issue here at all.
Right, I agree with what, sorry.
Yeah.
So was the problem was that we picked on North? You didn't mention anybody else?
Probably.
I mean, the concern was.
I think we had,
Then
we
more
had,
general.
No, we talked about all of them.
The main, the original
No,
concern
so no.
that was brought up was that if we didn't go through the
we don't
precinct
identify
council.
particular.
No,
that was
We don't even identify
The
particular
the
precincts.
parking piece was more about.
Everybody.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
It's like,
But I would say, you know, I just think it's like, it's, for us, I think it's less of a question of appropriateness or even like how the board operates. And it's really just like, what do we think is the most effective way to get these issues resolved? And I would think coming from both places is the more effective thing, having a letter from us and having conversations at the council. And I don't think those things are mutually exclusive.
And other people,
But they might think that our letter was actually like not their point, so I don't. But I
okay, and, yeah,
so if I'm reading this right, the main issues are there was sidewalks being interfered with because of the angle parking. And there is an enforcement of placard parking with the police, and these are long running issues. We've never been able to really get anywhere on these things, what they do. It might mean that it's not about a community specific issue, because I'm sure we're not the only community district that's dealing with this. It sounds to me like maybe the more effective route at this point might be to take it to the community board council, to the what's the
board.
yeah, the borough board, and make it a borough issue, because I'm sure districts.
But we would, but we have to put an issue, we have to put a resolution first, and we need to have 4 or 5 people with resolution before it goes to the board.
Right, so that, I mean,
But that's the first step.
yeah, so it might mean limiting it to the transportation specific
Yeah.
issues. And then moving on to the other community boards that are likely having similar issues, 4 or 5, 6. One, I think, has a lot of these issues, and there might be some others.
No, I'm sure they are.
And the placard parking is something that makes cities regularly, so that's probably, get the borough part of it.
Got it.
I mean, I think that's
Charlie?
that's sort of the purpose of going to the commissioner, is that this is maybe a good opportunity, a good point in time where we can, as a community board, maybe have the attention of.
Yeah. I like the
someone who
idea
has
that
the
it's a,
ability to influence
it's
policy.
a brand new
across the
division, and one of the first things they can get is a letter from us.
I think
That's
seems
meaningful.
pretty serious about quality of life, given that.
Charlie?
Yeah,
And
thank you,
then
Christine.
Paul.
Thanks, Christine. I was going to suggest perhaps that maybe there's a version of this letter that takes out the more specific finger pointing at the specific precincts, whether they're dumpsters in the trash and the way they Midtown South Parks on 9th Avenue, and something that just gets at all of the enforcement that we're talking about in a more broad way, in a way that hopefully would not be offensive to Dolores and JD, and just saying we're calling for enforcement of illegal parking. We're calling for enforcement of bikes on sidewalks. We're calling for enforcement of cars and crosswalks and everything. And then we can table internally this chronic issue of what I perceive, and I think a lot of the board perceive, as these precincts not respecting the community with the way there's trash all over their blocks, with the way they park on the sidewalks. And maybe that's a different letter, and maybe we bring Dolores and JD in, and we have a different strategy for that. But perhaps in the short term, like, let's get the low-hanging fruit quality of life stuff that we know I would think that Dolores and JD would agree with, because I'm sure they hear it a lot at a community council.
David?
I agree with what Charlie's saying. I'd like to add that maybe in the letter you can put Christine and Jesse can meet with Commissioner Tisch, and then at that point maybe other things could be discussed in more detail. But the letter would be more broad. Just leave like Charlie said, a broad letter and a little caveat that maybe we'd like to set up a meeting with the commissioner, with maybe the two chairs and maybe the district manager. I mean, that's an option, I think. Because we want to get this passed through the whole board. We want
Here's the thought which picks up everybody. I think we have a new division and they are going to install these people in different precincts. We definitely want to start the letter saying, we want that in our precinct. And we have 4 precincts and we want that new division to be populated into those precincts. Because that's something that the initiative has started, but they have not really rolled it out everywhere. So that's the first thing. And then we can talk about the general, enforcement issues we have. And then when we get to parking and parking on the sidewalk, we may want to highlight that, it's not limited to everybody. It also includes the police parking, which is not a small issue. And that's after we have done 3 things, right? The big things, and by the way, the police parking on the sidewalk is also an issue. Or we said we want to enforce the parking on the sidewalk across the board, and there is a lot of it, including police parking. So now it's all about enforcement. And then it's like, it includes, unfortunately, police parking.
Anything in the right of way is fair game.
Right. So that would be my suggestion of how we change our letter to be, more generic and more palatable and.
Right, and we wouldn't have because the topic sentence or the header for paragraph 2 is NYPD station houses.
Right, no.
So we would tone it
We
down.
wouldn't talk about that.
Right, we would tone down the letter, so it's not.
Just the.
We would have a reference, but no.
Right.
Right.
Yes.
Do you think that this letter is genuinely at risk of not passing the full board?
No, I think it will.
It'll pass.
Oh,
As
no,
is.
as is? I don't know.
Because reading this, I just really feel like all of this is our authentic.
Yes. Yes.
View of what this is, which is true, which has been years-long problems that we all agree on and that we unanimously passed last month. And I don't really care if it's 30-20.
Yeah.
Let me say, from a political standpoint, if we change a little bit the letter, we will come in and we say, we changed the letter, right? And then it will still be the core of what we want to talk about, but it will, and then if the same people raise their hands, then, it's 30-20, or it'd be 40-10, right?
I'm still confused because I don't understand. I just don't understand I don't know, what is Dolores's position with the police? So
you can't touch that.
She's the president.
So
She's the
oh my gosh, so she's the president.
Right.
So again, I'm confused why we wouldn't be having her as part of the conversation. I mean, my question in my head is to what end? To what end? I would want certain changes, and if it helps.
Because first of all, we have 4 precincts. So we have to have the same discussion with the precinct of each of the 4. And the problem at Midtown South is enormous and they don't want to talk about it. And the problem on the 10th precinct is enormous and they don't want to talk about it. So even if you do the whole process with Dolores, which based on my experience is not, has not been successful because we did it before.
You still have the other three precincts.
Exactly.
Got it.
And that's the reason why we have this problem, is like, we can't go to each precinct and explain what we want, because it's going to take you 5 years. And
Unless, are there 4 presidents from the community board on each of those?
No,
boards?
no.
Okay, so there aren't members. Okay.
But so that's why, and I had some feedbacks of other members, by the way, while you were talking to them, who said, I don't know why, our community board cannot write a letter.
Yeah, I mean, I think.
I mean, this is
Yeah,
ridiculous.
the Midtown South Community Precinct Council, if I'm not mistaken, is a 501c3. They're a non-legal governmental body.
Right.
This is, so I think it's very important that this
Yeah.
body issues a letter.
Yeah, multiple people voted to table, told me, this is totally appropriate for us to be bringing up, we are the community. board.
Right,
It's on the letter.
right. Well, I proposed the table like,
But it's
chicken now.
I mean, quite honestly.
Chicken
You
now.
voted
I
against
don't
it.
know.
Somebody proposed to remove a paragraph and I didn't want to
No,
remove the paragraph.
That's not how it.
And then I said, okay, let's
Number
table
one.
the whole damn
Paragraph
thing
one, last
because.
line.
So I was really nervous that one paragraph, because I was afraid that removing the paragraph would pass.
But the order of voting is that, like, you can still motion to table after the paragraph is removed.
No,
I mean, like, whether to
Oh,
entertain
well, yeah.
motions is up to the discretion of the chair.
but that's what we
But I
did.
don't
We
think
did
Jessica would have been
essentially
like,
said,
no, I'm gonna entertain the first motion, but I refuse to entertain the
I
motion
know,
to
but
table.
this is, at that point, I kind of said, all right, let's take it back.
Can we just?
But now we are better, because now she has created these divisions, this new division. I mean, I'm talking about not Dolores, but Jessica. So now that she has created this new division, we can pile up on it, right?
Can we just like tweak the language a bit to say like, it depends on the station, like the problems are a varying degree based on the station house. But some of the things that people have observed are this, and like, soften it up a little and.
Yeah, exactly.
But we shouldn't be divisive. I don't want us to be divisive.
No, we're not.
Yeah.
And are we gonna remove references to trash?
I think so, I think we should.
Yeah, because that may be,
Trash is a problem.
it might not be.
Yeah, but this is not a problem for transportation.
It might not be.
Right.
Is it blocked?
I'm
accessible
trying
to
to
the
make
sidewalk?
it narrow to
So it is a
just the
problem for transportation.
transportation
But
committee.
Well, it's a quality of life issue.
But then the quality of life
The
committee.
quality of life.
But who's
It's a
talking
general, it's a general
transportation? There is-
situation, it's not
there
just.
is
No,
quality of
no,
life
the
training.
trash should be done by the.
Parks department, parks.
Like,
Yeah, but the
basic,
park
like,
group,
Well, I just don't know what.
WPA.
We do,
the park, WP.
Didn't Varun bring this?
because we do talk about sanitation issues all the time, we talked about, I mean, we just talked about the street cleaning.
Well, we talk about the, on the
If
sidewalk,
the trash is blocking the circulation of the sidewalk, I think that is a transportation issue.
but that's not what it is.
All right,
Tell you,
that's fine.
the street sweeper probably doesn't go down the south side. of
Like, we just bullied that bus company into cleaning up there.
Precinct.
Say that again.
I'm sure the sweeper doesn't come down, or at least doesn't come down as far as it needs to do on the south side of the 20th Street where the precinct is. Is there parked there
Oh, sure.
or 24 hours a day?
Sure.
So, that's a problem in itself.
But then sanitation, what I want is, I'm trying to get it very narrow on transportation. And then if it is an issue of sanitation, then it should go to WPE and have another letter go and say, look, we have a problem.
Right, so keep it the parking and take out the reference to north, that's all.
Yeah, take out mine.
No, north, it will
North.
merge into everything else.
I mean, I think we.
There's no-
We don't need to.
There's no reference to north.
The reference to the north is what kicked everything.
It's
apart.
not, no.
Can we take that out
That's the
though,
way I saw
in
it.
general?
No, but that's just saying that there are bike
Yeah, but why
problems
are
in
we
that
doing
area.
that?
We do
You're
say
talking
that.
about
No,
bikes
so we're
and
just saying-
stops at the other.
No,
No,
we're talking
because we're
about,
saying that's where it's located, like, that's where people, we're just saying
Because I
random
said
people are
bike
driving
and
in bikes in this
no.
area, it's a
But
problem.
there are
Right,
bikes
it's a
violating
place,
the
yeah.
rules and.
I can
everything.
remove that, we can remove that.
Alright.
Remove it. That's
Just a
all.
hand up there.
Take your hand.
Yes.
Yeah.
Maybe just to try to get this to a resolution of sorts for the committee, and maybe suggested that someone wants it, someone can propose it as a motion. So I would suggest that we produce a letter that addresses transportation issues, specifically concerns about angled parking, blocking sidewalks, the volume of parking spaces used by the police departments.
No.
And that doesn't have to be there, and the observed, vast use of placard parking, taking up a lot of parking in our community. And then, a desire to develop a policy that, could be amenable to the community and police precincts. And we've been that.
Let me make some amendment to that.
I was
So I would say that, you know, we want that those new divisions to be rolled out in our precinct, because this is more people, this is very important. Second, we want them to focus on bikes, like we said, and we want them to focus on parking everywhere.
Yeah.
Right, all the illegal parking. And by the way, which includes some parking by for the precinct, where they should be parking parallel and not on the sidewalk. That's it.
Yeah.
Okay, you have one?
Any members of the public would like to speak on this?
So,
Okay.
Okay.
Oh, wait, Miriam goes first.
Ah,
Miriam.
She's going to talk about it. Janine, can you bring Miriam over?
Yep, she's moving over.
Okay.
I think, can you hear me?
Yes.
This new entity is nebulous now on how it will meet and so on. I wanted to request, that included is that it be made hybrid, so that, people who want to attend and can't go to in-person meetings be included. I've had a 2-year fight with, the 10th precinct where I haven't been able to go to meetings because they're only in person, and I've been requesting hybrid, and I've been requesting hybrid, and I've been requesting hybrid. I'm tired of this, and maybe at least this can be added to the letter so that everybody can participate.
Well, no, it's not a transportation issue. This is for, wow. Yeah. I think this is a good point, Miriam. I think we need to bring it up to the exec and ask the exec of the community board to address that
It'll come out of exec.
with the with directly with the COs.
Yeah.
Because this is above our, pay grade,
No,
but we will definitely bring it up, okay?
Jesse should bring it up at district manager,
Yes, and district management, yeah. Why don't you send that to us and by in email, and then we'll send it to the chair and we'll send it to Jesse, okay? Which will be a better way to accommodate that. So do we have a motion here?
Motion.
Okay. Second, yes. All in favor? And I promise I won't chicken anymore.
Yeah.
And you'll take out
Yeah,
That doesn't happen.
letters, fine. Don't take all our letters.
Don't motion something and then vote against your own motion.
It makes sense what you did.
Yeah, no, it's.
That was bizarre. Somebody saved the law voting against us. Anyway, all right. So the survey.
Are you guys here for the quality of life letter? Or no, you're just.
Yeah, we're just observing, we're residents of Host Kitchen.
Oh, great, thanks for joining us.
Did you guys, any new business you want to talk about? Anything we didn't talk about?
Okay. Thanks for coming.
We talked about parking. The police. Okay. What's,
Well, we got.
Janine, can you bring up the PowerPoint?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, voting against my. So fucking.
Is this correct?
No, the other one is a PowerPoint.
Okay.
It's awesome to drop off everybody. PC survey results. It's actually awesome. I'd love to see it.
You have it? Oh, okay.
Wow, 452 responses.
Yeah, that's pretty good, right?
That's the whole thing right there.
All right, so
Good.
next
Yeah.
page. No.
Nope. Go down. Ah,
You did get
There
it
we
here.
go.
there you go. Ooh. Let's see.
All right, so you remember what we asked? I can't, yeah.
Yeah, we
but
can't.
I can see- we can't
Here,
see
here.
everything.
All right,
You-
we got
Make it bigger, you should talk about it. The first four, so I isolated the one which are over 50%. Where more than 50% of people said it's either extremely critical or very critical.
And the first three are at 62% is improving pedestrian visibility, daylighting at specific locations. Woo! 60% is reducing congestion at key intersections. At 56% is increasing the frequency on M11 and M12 bus. And just shy of 50%, and something we want to take on, is the missing pedestrian ramps, so curb cuts, formerly known as.
Yeah.
Which actually is shockingly high, so that we.
So you can read the rest in the Dropbox. Can you move to the next one? Right. So this was the policy version of it. Then you want to read that?
Oh, sure. The top items here at 70%, improving repairs on sidewalk, bike lanes. 70%, 68%, sidewalk management, reducing obstructions. Did you vote 450 times?
Yeah.
Okay.
You see, I'm not the only one.
Yeah, no, I really am like, the results are groundbreaking. Yeah, they're amazing. And third is expanding visibility of pedestrian with universal,
Which is the
expanding
same as
visibility
the
of
other
universal daylighting, we've seen that. And then 50% expanding speed control automation requirements for new vehicles and repeat offenders. Very timely. Great.
Okay,
And then
and what's next?
freeform, oops, sorry, she's got it.
Oh, yeah.
Freeform comments, so people were able to write in on what they thought, on things we might have missed. And just generally enforcement, way ahead, 64. Congestion pricing for residents is number 2, that's, I think, people residents who don't want to be subjected to congestion pricing.
An exemption,
And then parking,
they want more parking.
they want more parking.
But the enforcement, vast majority was bikes. But also, parking, other things sprinkled in there.
Which is why we just passed the letter
Right.
again, yeah.
So, I think that's good, that's helpful, that tells us the thing we should concentrate on if proactively.
Yeah.
Even if people don't come up with it, right?
When's the last time we wrote a letter on the M11 and 12? Fairly recently or the last? I know, I've seen it before. No, not the last. All right,
We should check on them.
yeah, but it sounds like that's a
Check
letter
on
that we
the-
should maybe bring up next meeting, like
Yeah.
next month.
Right.
I also want to say, I was gonna say it for the end, but literally because of this, which I think, like the fact that almost 50% of respondents say missing pedestrian ramps is an issue. That tells me that there really are missing pedestrian ramps that I am not aware of. And so I'm going to ask everyone, I'm gonna create a grid of our district. And I'm hoping for next meeting, not between now and next meeting, but at the next meeting, everyone will get assigned a grid to potentially walk and identify issues with pedestrian ramps in their grid. If anyone does not want to be included in that, let me know, but that is something that I'm hoping to have ready for next meeting.
We're talking about the corners themselves.
The corners themselves, so all four corners, to
Within
make
the-
sure that if you're in a wheelchair or you're on, you can get from the sidewalk down to the road and across the street and up the other sidewalk without having to navigate your way around.
And do the ramps need to have a certain
Yes.
texture?
Yeah, well, I'll figure out details between now and then, yeah.
You can take a picture of one,
Yeah,
of a good one.
Yeah. Yeah.
I did think.
I'll put it in front of it, yeah.
The bike survey that Charlie and somebody else did, so apologies if you also did
Mhm.
this, but that was like incredible
Yeah.
and how like
Right.
detailed it was
Yeah.
and how like obvious it was.
Yeah.
And so the more we could do that, even with like daylighting, I don't know if we have like a policy or a strategy around that, but we should sort of think through what is our policy and strategy, or what is this?
Well, I think
All for universal
we,
daylighting, but the question is.
it's a good one also where we can assign, square and then say, okay, what are the corners where we
Yeah.
want
Yeah.
the daylighting, because they are either,
Actually,
you know,
those are two things that can be handled in one.
You
No,
could-
it's a good
that's
idea.
a good idea.
Actually, that is a good idea. We could do both in one,
right,
although I think everyone's gonna just, I mean, it would have to be, it can't just be everyone just identifying the corners that don't have daylighting, because that's still most of them. We would still have to figure out which are the most pressing ones, right?
well, but how do you do that?
I don't know.
Why don't we start with having a list and then.
Well, what we can do is print a crash map or a map of the intersections. And you can look at the one which have the most injuries. And then, we could select those
Those.
intersections, so I could do a first
Pass?
pass.
Yeah, okay.
Filter it, and then give you all the one which have actual injuries.
And then see if there's
2
not
years,
daylight,
5 years or whatever, and then we can say, okay, these are the one where we want. The lighting first, right?
When did they
start doing that?
When
The
was it?
lighting,
No, taking those surveys of having how many crashes happened at this intersection.
oh, that happens, that has happened since 2012.
Didn't we not create it? Don't you?
I ask about it once and
No, what I have-
on keep those.
Yeah, what CheckPads has done is create Crash Mapper,
Yeah,
which
it's
is the
great.
software,
Yeah.
so that you can look at it. And it makes sense, so if you.
Oh, so you took the
go-
data.
If you go to crashmapper.org, you are going to have maps and trends, etc. And you can use all of that to figure what's dangerous or not in the neighborhood, right?
But of course, those are the only ones that are reported, not the ones that.
Well, I presume 90% are reported. So if this is a tool, and then you can go to, and compare, you can compare from, 2 years ago to now, or 5 years ago to now, and you see the difference.
Wow.
So this is a front end to the data, which is on the, open data. It takes all the open data and then
Puts it in a visual.
puts it in a visual format.
Oh.
Okay, so I can
first pass.
do that.
Um,
Okay, so
any
that's,
other-
that's a good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to thank everyone for the survey. It was really a great job, but I have a little thing, maybe on one of them, it said about the trucking cameras. It just missed it by a razor being included as a priority. I'd like to, if we can, make that a priority, the cameras for enforcing the trucking routes. I think that's kind of important, and it barely missed the 50% mark. So I'm wondering if we could
Sure.
include that into the red zone, because literally it was less than a percentage point. And thank you again for the survey.
Okay, so that's one initiative, right? That Jesse is going to drive. And then there is another initiative I'd like to initiate. Jessica Chait, our chair, has been emphasizing how much, we're going to have turnover and changes with term limits, and how we need to build up our knowledge so that when the term limited people leave, we have all of that. So Janine, can you bring up the documents that I put in the folder in the
Yeah.
MCB4 TPC competence charge.
Right, thank you.
Yes. Does that sound less hostile in French?
I know, I was reading that today and I said, I don't think that's good. I think so. Okay, so what I did is I created major category of topics, right? And then I thought what would be helpful is that each of you choose one or maybe two.
We might combine some of these.
Right, we might combine, but if you combine them, they're gonna be bigger, right? So that's.
Yeah, no, but some of them are like, are.
So, and then, once you have that, the task is going to be to come back to the committee and make a presentation about the topic, right? And in the process, you identify all the source documents that are critical to understanding stuff, so that we would have a list of links, right, on the right. And then you read that stuff, and then I or Jesse could sit down with each of you 1 hour or two and, discuss what you found. And then, refine it a little bit if it needs to, or tell you missed something. And then you make a presentation to the group. So you become the expert, but the group is also raising their knowledge, right, at the same time. So this is something to go over 1 or 2 years. It doesn't have to be done right away. And so at the next meeting, again, if you want to select one topic, I think that would be a good way of, catching up and also on each of those things, have a discussion, is it still the policy we want to have? Have we changed our position? Should we have something else? So that's a thought on how to do transfer of knowledge and not any thoughts? Sounds good?
I
Yes.
saw my name on the list.
Some people prefer free aside.
So your name, because I know you've already done the DEI.
I know.
And you're doing the US one, but you can take another subject because those subjects are current, right? The DEIS, you can make a presentation to everybody
I
saying,
would be delighted.
this is how we do the DEIS,
I would be delighted.
So that's a thought. I know it's,
You wanna do some sample sorts of things that you think we should cover? I mean, I don't know about doing this at all. I don't understand how we know what we're supposed to put down and not put down.
okay. So
We can help you with,
Yeah, we
figuring
can-
that out,
we can help.
depending on what your topic is, we will,
pick up the topic you are interested in, that's the point of getting together, we'll
figure it out.
We'll help you on how to get started and what it is, and, one important thing is to gather a resolution we did before,
Yeah,
or position we did before, etc., on the subject. And then you start to look at it and say, does it make any sense, or what am I missing here?
And I don't know how to find those things.
Right,
And there was.
On the website.
On the website. there is-
They go back as far
yeah,
as.
all on the website.
How far back, tenant inspection or home?
Oh, yeah.
So the titles are, it actually reminds me, we really need to get Jesse to put all of the letters in one searchable document that's like.
Well, I found a software to do the search, but I never took the time to put it in. Because I told him that was driving me nuts.
Yeah.
I told him we need to, so this is a software that works on, because all of those letters are on Dropbox. So what you need is to have a tool, an engine that search Dropbox.
You can also, this is a great use for ChatGPT, I'm gonna say, like, cause if you use your keyword, you can do that in any software, but if you wanna be like. Letters about this topic, but you don't necessarily know exactly the words, you can upload a bunch of PDFs in ChatGPT, and it's quite good, it'll find like. You're like, these sentences in this letter seem to pertain to this topic, then you can look at them and make
But
sure
wait a
it's like.
minute, but you need, where are those letters? Is
You,
it-
yeah, you
have to
have
download them
to
easily.
You have to get, like, when I've done this in the past, I
You have
just
to download
downloaded
them.
a bunch of letters from the website.
Uh-huh,
To upload all the PDFs, and that should be tell me which ones are relevant, and then
I
I look at like the 5 and it says
oh,
irrelevant.
okay,
Or you go on our website, and just type in the keyword in the search box, and all the resolutions are.
That's
correct.
just-
So they only give you the title of the problem.
It's
Yeah,
real.
sometimes the letters, so you just better
It's
download like all the letters from a certain
Yeah.
committee and.
I just wanna add, because I think this is a wonderful idea, because one of the things that came up in the survey that we're doing for the board engagement, 90% of the 45 respondents said that they were concerned about
Right,
institutional lost knowledge, with the
Yes.
term limits coming up, so I think you're ahead of the game.
that's where I took it from.
This is where,
And you reported on that.
and it's gonna come back up, and I think one of the things that we're gonna report out is that this should be happening, something
Right,
like this, so
right.
again, you're ahead of the game.
Right, it's like, I mean, that's the only thing I could think of doing. And I think we need to select that. So you guys look at the topics, you select the one you like. You send it to us, and then we'll figure how to organize them, and then and create a schedule saying, okay, this person present on this meeting, and this, and then we'll go, or two people present on one meeting, because you present for 10 minutes maybe, right? So that would be the idea. Okay,
Sounds good.
all right.
Oh, nope, where's the next rest of the agenda? Aha! Well, new business.
Helicopter crash in the Hudson River.
There you go.
So, don't jinxing it.
Right, so helicopter crash, do we want to ride that wave, not to make a pun here? That was a horrible situation, yes. Do we want to write a letter on the helicopter in the park?
And the idea being another letter saying.
One more letter saying.
Saying we would like, we would
Right,
like the state to take action to ban tourist
Yeah.
helicopter rides over New York City.
Well, I think those letters have been
More
written
companies.
many times.
say that
There
again,
are plenty of letters that have been written.
I
I
know,
think we need to be a little more specific in terms of what's already been agreed to, but hasn't been pursued by the trust. In terms of the settlement, the 2008 settlement.
Aren't they moving now for
So there's a lot of.
out to the river? Oh,
That was a proposal, I don't.
it's
think
kind of,
passed.
maybe yes, maybe no, but.
But it also
nobody
doesn't
talks
have to be
about
about the heliport, it could just be, we have helicopters that fly over our district. The sound comes and affects us, so.
I don't think they could do it anyway, because it's an established marine waterway, it's like, put something in the middle of it.
Right,
I'm gonna summer my inner JD who's Byway. The letters that are about citywide policy don't always fly well. But I think something that's neighborhood specific on a timely subject. Pointing out, noting that this is a safety issue that, the board has picked up on in the past. But we have an ongoing concern about the heliport that is right by our, this might be something that we wanna go to the WP committee and get them to sign off on too. The recreation space in our Hudson River Park stretch, I think I always see that the heliport as a real negative, because anyone who's running, biking has to smell the fumes of those helicopters, so between the noise and the. It really
Okay,
impacts
got it.
our quality of life.
got it,
Think about our community.
But what I'm saying is, you could probably go back and see a ton of letters that address that.
yeah,
But the heliport, the operators and the trust came to an agreement about what the heliport was supposed to do. Nobody's enforcing that. So we need to somehow push the trust to start implementing the things that have already been agreed upon.
so I think the trust is now taking the opportunity of the Gateway Tunnel, which is going right under the trust and is going to cut half of the heliport.
Right.
To start negotiating what comes back after it, right? So I think if we write that letter, it's going to help a little bit on, okay, you see, they really don't want it. But nothing is, firm, nor nothing is published, although now that I've said it, it's published. But that's, so that's the idea. The idea is to bring a little more ammunition for the next, right?
The next phase.
Okay.
But this is a horrible tragedy that happened.
It was just horrible.
Right beside us, and I think we should comment on it.
Yeah. So do we have a motion on that?
Motion?
Well, second.
All right, all in favor? Okay,
And obviously, everyone should really look at the draft before, take it, I don't know, because
right.
it was a little bit, I mean, we got specifics and, but we're gonna have to reference old letters, and so. Just wanna make sure, if we draft something, everyone actually looks at it and signs off on it before. Yeah, it'll be.
Is it two?
Okay,
Is it two?
I
This
think
guy.
it should be Nadler. And Schumer. Nadler and Schumer and the governor. You, do you want to take it?
Take the letter.
Take the. Okay.
My community board.
Governor, I have some.
With your horse on the path. Okay.
Rock up the trail to Albany.
All right, so Port Authority update.
Wait, everyone said yes, everyone go.
Port Authority, very quickly, they have started to put protection in the street on 37, 38, 39th Street between 8 and 9 and 10. And so that they build the overdeck. So the whole streets are
It's really so.
overtaken, it's real, you know. And we think that in about 3 months, it's going to be a lot of pile, very noisy. And so that's where we are. Penn Station update, there was, I don't know whether we talked about that, Penn Station, Tony Simone and the governor said block 780 is not up for grab. Are you, could you confirm?
Yes.
What exactly did she say?
What exactly did she say and what exactly did she mean? I mean, there was a pause or what? So anyway, this is good news because that's going to force a little bit of through running in the main station, so that's great. And US1 study update, Max, it's your.
Oh, sure, we attended that meeting, actually, before I start that, let me just, almost on the heliport thing. I wanna mention that the 2024, Cultural did sign a bill to remove that heliport from Parkland. So the heliport's gonna get off the parkland, but it's gonna go into a barge structure.
Right.
So off parkland, off land, but it's gonna still be in the general area.
Right.
In the US1 study update last month, we went to that great meeting. So we went to this really nice, I guess, visioning session, goal setting session from the state DOT, and they had their consultant there, the state DOT was there, city DOT was there, a bunch of stakeholders like the Port Authority, the cruise terminal was also there, the Javits Center was there. And they put us into basically 5 different groups, and they get us this activity to do. Basically setting goals, like what are our goals to see with US1, with the West Side Highway, from the Battery to 59th Street. And we just laid out what the problems are, what we see, where the problems are, and what we would like to see with this new roadway that they're eventually gonna build. This project is not to build it, it's just to study it. So to just have the funding to study this is a really comprehensive study. So this is the time to get all our input in. Right now, during this phase, they just wanna hear what we're experiencing. And then the next phase, then they're gonna actually design something. So it's really exciting, that went really well, and they're gonna have a public info session, kind of like we just did internally, but a public session that for members of the community to join. And that should be happening in May, which we should all attend.
Right.
But we did send them a bunch of stuff. Did you have that letter on hand? Well, we sent them a ton of ideas.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
No, but I mean, that was the real.
Oh, yeah, so-
And so what are the goals that you came up with?
So more
Oh,
east-west.
walk hard.
Yeah, exactly. East-west connections are really important, separating out the bikes, the peds.
Right.
Making more safety barriers between the different modes of transit is really important. And then also reducing the lanes of travel from cars on the roadway was important discussion too. How there's 8 to 10 lanes on this roadway, and what would happen if you take away a northbound or southbound lane. And, you know, part of the things we discussed was the traffic numbers they had, the previous studies was out of date, they have to redo the traffic numbers, considering everything that's been happening over the past 5 years. The pedestrian and bike numbers are out of date, so yeah. Basically,
Good.
yeah.
Yes.
We also keyed in on certain intersections, like the 22nd Street.
Yeah.
That.
Yeah, we gave that to you.
And also down by 14th Street, that whole
Yeah.
section, and then has to be.
We gave that to
And we
you.
also made it clear that a goal of ours is to make it a cohesive vision, not just with the jurisdictional nightmare that currently exists there. How, for example, at the cruise terminal, at the ferry terminal, there's nothing in front of it because it's owned by a different person that owns the actual Hudson River Park. So it's not a cohesive vision right now, in the future it needs to be.
And we talked about the pedestrian crossing, right, the time to cross
Yes.
and the comfort to cross, right?
Cool.
So that's exciting. So if you have any ideas in your sleep, send an email to
We
Max.
didn't already include it in.
Christine, I just wanted,
Yeah.
I wanted to add that I participated in the walking tour, as did I think
Oh,
Al.
good.
And there was a session, Max might have been there as well, but there was a session at the Javits Center that I think that was in between the last two meetings. Maybe it was 2 meetings ago, but
Right.
we did an EDC was there. Everyone was at that meeting too. And I walked the 50s and the 40s and I expressed the opinions of this committee on all the problems in those areas. And I know Alan did the same for Chelsea.
Right.
Thank you, Alan. Thank you, Max. Thank you, John.
Hey, and I was there too, DOT.
Yes.
And hey, Max, I just want to let you know, I had the croissant and it's the best.
Oh, did you? I told you it's gonna be the best.
Well, share your croissant. Secret with the
I
whole
was there last week Sunday and it's the best. You're absolutely right. You gotta tell Christine. You have to tell Christine.
I do, the basement of the Chelsea Market, the basement level of the building has the best
Oh, that
croissant
guy,
I've ever had in the city.
But which, Chelsea Market.
In Chelsea Market,
Right.
the basement.
bottom.
Really?
It's incredible.
Oh, yeah, it is.
Unbelievable.
Um,
Okay.
I have one more quick item, sorry, but I wanted to ask you, ask you because I forgot to. But speaking of DEIS, yeah, coming up at full board next month is the DEIS for Chelsea Elliott. And that we did get sent some stuff to review.
We did.
But yes, that you reviewed and said, because it wasn't a huge.
This is like, I didn't do anything this week.
Wait, but you, wait, you want
Yeah,
yeah, you
So,
did,
yeah,
yeah.
so it's actually, Monday, Chelsea Land Use will take up the discussion, and I was asked to look at transportation. So also, about a year ago, you helped me with what we did.
Right.
So I'm gonna pick up from that, but just a quick sort of review of the Fulton Chelsea redevelopment,
Right.
it's just pretty superficial. It's like top line stuff like, yes, we have congestion. Yes, there's gonna be more people. Yes, there's gonna be more traffic, but there's nothing saying how it might be mitigated and how they're gonna address it. The other, we actually put, in, about a year ago in the draft scope to, NYCHA and related to say, can you look at these things? We also had mentioned at that time that we could possibly have in the next year or so, Port Authority, the Gateway Project, Western Rail Yards, NYCHA, so from 14th up to 42nd, 9th and 10th could be just transportation heading. So there's nothing to address that. We asked them to look at the Chelsea addition, which is on 27, that's the senior citizen housing. Nothing addressing that. So again, just sort of very baseline. You are gonna have more traffic, we're gonna have more buildings.
I think maybe one thing we should raise is that, the senior center
That's right.
and Hudson Guild. During all this construction, how are people going to access those things? It's like, is it or is it destroyed first, or what's going on there?
And the irony of it is that the Chelsea edition is the one group that has to move maybe more than once, and that's the senior citizens. So, again, it's coming up. So what I was going to do is probably send something maybe Friday or on the weekend to you all, but you
Oh,
see
great,
if
that'd be really
you could add to, but basically taking from what we did in 2024.
Right.
And saying, these are the things you looked at, but partially you haven't sort of delved into it.
And do you see any issues? I mean, big issue coming up? Is there parking? There is not going to be parking in
No,
that
I think there was
complex,
like one or two, and then it's gonna be
Right.
even less on the parking.
Right.
No, it's just the traffic.
It's just it's the
traffic.
construction.
Yeah, and
Construction mitigation is one
Right,
of
we see
the.
nothing addressing, no conversations with MTA where how would they increase the bus route, M11 and
Right.
12. Nothing with the schools and the transportation, sort of similar to what you said about Hudson York, like how will the kids get to the school over at whatever street that is, 27,
Yeah.
26 and
26, right?
So, I'll just type up something, send it back, and you guys can see.
That'll be amazing. Thank you.
Get back, and then.
Thank you very much.
On Monday.
All right.
Thanks for having us.
ready to call,
Motion to adjourn.
Great.
second?
Second.
All in
All
favor?
right. Great meeting, everybody. Thank you.
Night, everybody.
Everyone have a good night.